Good evening, Romany Rye. What a day we've had. The rain's been falling that hard. I got rain right off the job. What a day. Anyway, the job I'm on at the moment is a big clearance job. A big warehouse full of antiques, knickknacks, you name it's in it. I'll put the videos up later on. And then the news now on the photograph is my assistant will be here tomorrow night, so I can talk you through each photograph. Now, we've loaded up these photographs and I put descriptions on them all, but I can't seem to be able to get them on the YouTube channel. So that's something I'm going to have to work on, but I think we may be able to do it live. Although it may be a bit wonky, you'll have to bear with us. Anyway, the job I'm on at the moment, I definitely got at least 4 lorry loads of antique stuff. Now, I'm going to take you back and then I'm going to bring you forward. Now, after that little episode with my mum, and I got myself straight again, there was an old Ratley and a mush in the next village. She was called June Swindale and her husband, Mr. Swindale. Now, they was antique dealers. She had the antique shop in Swindale. Was there for years. And I used to pick bits and pieces up that I thought was any cushy out the scrap. And my grandfather said, well, whatever you get, we have half each. So I keeps going up to this old Ratley. I sells her bits and pieces of brass and bits of, well, anything that we found in the scrap that I thought was any cushy. She would buy. Now, the one thing I'm going to tell you now, which I wish I never ever sold, but my grandfather was rubbing his hands together. Now, we was doing a job in Truro, and there was a coat of arms. Oh, beautiful coat of arms. Cast iron. All painted lovely. So it was put on the lorry. All I could think about was the Vonger, see? So I said to my grandfather, I said, oh, Mrs. Swindale will buy that, man. He said, tell her to come down. Now, she had a three-wheeler car. So I goes up and sees her. I said, Miss Swindale, I said, I got someone home that you'd be interested in. Anyway, told her what it was. Yes, she said, I would be. Come down. So my grandfather had to do this deal because this was a bit more level. I'm going back when I was 14. That's 50 years ago, 55 years ago. Bit more. She bought that off my granddad then for 140 quid. Well, that was a lot of money back then. Anyway, we loaded it in her back of her free-wheel car. She had a Bond bug things. She loaded it in, and off she went. Now, that old woman took me under her wing. Now, don't forget, I'm 14. Over the years, I sells her stuff, and she's teaching me about the antique job. Now, I'll fast forward now to when I'm 19. I said to my wife, I said, I want to do a bit of antique dealing, you know. I said, it's in my blood. Now, You remember me telling you about a man called Brian Francis, who Andrew Simons had a bit of a fallout with. This is true, as God is my witness, this is the truth. He lent me a book, and the book was called The Antique Dealer Way. I like to have the book now, but I haven't got it. Now, I gets reading this book, and it stirs up all these lovely things inside Mandy about what you can find and what you can't find in this, that and that anyway. I said, I'm going to go up and see Mrs. Swindale. Now, by the time she'd finished, she sold the shop and she moved over to our village in Carrick. So I spoke to Ed, the man who was behind me all these years, Darcy. I said, Mrs. Swindale, I said, do you know where she lives? Yes, he said. Just up the road here. He said, what do you want she for? I said, I want to go up and see her. I want to gain some of her knowledge. Good idea, he said. He wasn't the conventional man either. He was into all sorts. Anyway, I goes up now, drives in this drive, and the place, God straight me dead, is growed in trees. There's hardly no light going in this town at all. There's a freewheeler bound in a little porchway, like a carport. So you could tell it was a split level. So come to find out later, old Mr. Swindale was up on the top floor, she was down on the bottom floor. They split up. So I goes in, knocks on the door. No answer. But I could stick through the window. She had a oil lamp burning. So I thought, what am I going to do? I goes back to the drag. Writes a note out. I said, Mrs. Swindale, I said, you may not remember me, but I'm Clarence Ware. I used to sell you a lot of stuff. And my grandfather sold you the coat of arms that time. I said, it's me knocking on the door. I said, I'll be back tomorrow, the same time. Goes back, knocks on the door. She comes out. Doughty. Put her arms around Mandy. Said it's lovely to see me. Now, goes in. Now the place is full of antiques. My bride's life, full. From the floor to the ceiling. And it's just little passageways in every room. So she said, come in. So I went in, sat down. She had an old fire burning there. Nice and cosy. But she only had the oil lamps burning. I said, Mrs. Swindale, why don't you cut these trees down? Oh, he won't do nothing to the place. I said, who? She said, he up there. I said, who's up there? She said, Mr. Swindale. I said, well, what's... She said, we're not together. We bought this property and we had to split it in two. Because that's the only way we could do it. I said, oh, yeah. She sit down. Brought out this glass. Sherry. Fills it up. Gets chatting now. She said, what can I do for you? I said, Mrs. Swindale, I said, I'd love to know some of your knowledge on what I should be looking for when I'm buying antiques. I said, I want to do a bit of dealing. Well, that's very good, she said. She said, I'll tell you what I know when you ask me a specific question. She said, but there's so much you can only learn by doing it. I said, that's right. So she said, take that oil lamp there for instance, she said. It looks perfectly eloquent. She said, but it's a reproduction. I could gin it was reproduction. She didn't have to tell me about that. Anyway, she was very good friends with Thora Hird on the television. And she spent so much time in India. So she was telling me about her childhood and how she grew up. But this woman was mesmerizing. Bright ruby red lipstick. I'm talking about a woman 70 odd year, man. Bangles on each arm. Gold chains around her neck. Big pair of glasses like that. But there was something about her. She was mesmerizing. Anyway, she sat and we talked for hours. Hours and hours and hours. I used to, and like I said, I don't know if Jeb will ever do an interview, but I used to take her up a meal, Jeb would cook our dinner, a meal 4 times a week, and a Sunday roast. And I got up her, and she taught me through all, and she had a lot of this elephant memorabilia, like big elephant ornaments stand off the ground this eye. A lot of stuff from India. And I got to know her really, really well. And she started to depend on me. Can you go to the shop? Can you bring this? Can you bring that? She used to ring me up. Can you, wait, if you're coming up, could you bring it? But the hours we sat there and talked about antiques and about her life. Now, that was going on for, a good 12, 18 months. This day I goes up. I didn't have to knock by now. And goes in. She said, Clarence, she said, I don't think I can spend so much time with you. I said, why's that, Miss Swindale? I said, what's happened? I said, have I done something wrong? No, she said, oh no, nothing like that at all. She said, my daughter's getting rather concerned that you're here thinking that you're going to get things. I said, Miss Swindale, have I ever asked you for one thing? She said, no, you never have. She said, and I told my daughter this. She said, but he upstairs, and she was banging on the ceiling there with the walking stick. He upstairs thinks that you're coming here too much. And my daughter's been here kicked off. I said, well, look, Mrs. Swindale, the best thing we can do, I said, is I'll meet your daughter and tell her exactly what I'm doing. Would you? She said. I said, yes. But this Ratley was real posh speaking. She had everything. Well, tell you the truth, I don't think she may have washed her face and that and changed her clothes, but she had everything to hand for testing silver, looking at gold, whatever. So I said, what should we do? She said, I'll tell her to be here on Thursday. I said, oh yeah. She said, you'll be here at the normal time. I said, yeah, I will. Right. Thursday comes round. Goes in, like I do. I just knock the door like that and go in. Anyway, her daughter's in there sitting down. So she said, sit down, Clarence. She said, meet Carol. I said, hello, how are you? All right, yeah. I said, you have some concerns about me being up here with your mum. Yes, I do, she said. I said, yeah, and what are those then? Well, you're a male. You're up here with my mother 4 or 5 times a week. And we want to know what's going on. I said, who is we? She said, my father can see everything and hear everything. I said, oh, he can? Yeah. I said, Miss Swindale, have I ever asked you for anything other than your knowledge? No, she said, you haven't. And it's got bloody nothing to do with you up there at all. She said, and come to think of it, Carol, it's got nothing to do with you. Clarence is here 4 or 5 nights a week and Sundays with my dinner and my tea. And I don't have to cook very much. I said, look, my love, if you don't want me to come up here, dear mother, that's fine. I said, but all I'm interested in is the knowledge that's in her head. I said, and seeing that she's okay. And she said, well, you seem like a nice enough chap. I said, here's my address. If you want my address, that's where I live. If you've got any concerns, just give me a call. I'll come and see you or whatever. So she said, well, I'll go up and tell Dad. Mrs. Swindale said, no, you bloody well won't. You tell that old bastard nothing, she said. She said, Mum, that's my father. She said, I don't give 2 damns what it is. She said, and you ought to be thankful, really, that somebody's here trying to help me. And a rat, his nose is put right out of the joint. So I said, no, look, before you go or I go, I got no hidden agendas here. Nothing. She said, all my mother's belongings belong to me. There's nothing here that anybody can have anyway. She said, because it's all mine. I said, hang on. Mrs. Swindale said, no, hang on. She said, it doesn't bloody belong to you until I'm dead. At this moment in time, she said, it belongs to me. It only becomes yours when I die. Oh, I'm sitting in the chair now thinking to myself, Dorothy, what have I started here? But I wanted the knowledge, see? I wanted the knowledge. She went upstairs and Mrs. Swindale couldn't hear it, but I could hear him up her barney, see? Next thing I heard this door slam and off she went. Now, I was going up Mrs. Swindale's in fact, it was quite a joke, because everybody thought that I was up there in a not very nice way, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to exploit that or explore what I'm saying, but that's what it was like. But the knowledge that she taught me, but her life story was so interesting. How she was taught to ride elephants and her early life in India, and oh my God, the woman could write poetry and she could paint. And I bet that went on for 2.5 years. Till one day, she had a bit of a funny turn. And she said to me, she said, Clarence, she said, I don't think we can go any further with this, she said. It's completely exhausted me. So I thought, Dolly, she's turning, like, you know. I said, that's right, Miss Swindale, I said, we'll just leave it for another time. She said, no, she said, I think we can't go any further. I said, are you saying you don't want me to come anymore? Well, yes, she said, basically, that's what I'm saying. She said, I've so much enjoyed it, but I think that's about it. I said, well, I'll come and see if you're right, Miss Swindale. She said, I don't think I'll be here. I said, what do you mean? She said, no, I don't think I'll be here. So I didn't go. So I was speaking to Darcy. I said, seen Miss earlier met Miss Swindale? He said, have you heard? I said, no. He said, the daughter had her put in home. I said, no. He said, yeah. Had her put in home and clean the house right out. But the old man's still alive. I said, oh yeah. I said, would you do me a favour? I said, and help me. I said, and find out where she's to. He said, of course I would. So Ed being Ed and the way he was, he found out where she was. In fact, she was only up Sunday. And I don't know what happened. A couple of 3 weeks went by and it crossed my mind again. So I said to myself, I'm going to go up and take this old Ratley. Because I really, really thought the world of her, really. So up I goes, and fuck me, she died 2 days before I got her up. 2 days. I don't know whatever happened to her antiques and her stuff, but she was well known. June Swindale, lovely lady. So now, I had the bug for the antique job. And me and Uncle Harry, Mickey Burrs rung us up. He said, Harry, I think it's Beverly's auntie or uncle passed away. He said, and the house is full of everything. Come up and have a look. So up me and Harry goes. I keep saying Harry, but it's my Uncle Harry. Anyway, up we goes, have a look. We buys a few bits and pieces, but I think they sold a lot of it through auction, but we bought a few bits and pieces of them. But back then, see, we was interested in washstands and oil lamps and good bits of furniture, because there was a good market for it back then. So anyway, I come to another chapter now in my life. Which is following on with antiques. I got friendly with a man called Philip Bedell. He was an antique auctioneer in Truro. I got friendly with him. He said, what do you do? I said, I scrapyard like. I said, and I do a bit of house clearances and all like that. He said, do you ever get any stuff? I said, yeah, so what sort of stuff? He said, well, anything that can go in my auction. I knew the name Philip Bedell, auctioneers. He's in the West Britain every week. I said, yeah. I said, get bits and pieces in and out. He said, well, bear me in mind, he said, and give me a shout and bring it to the auction rooms and if I'll sell it for you. Lovely job, Philip. Anyway. About a fortnight, 3 weeks went by. I seasoned down the church on the Sunday morning. Had the service, Holy Communion, blah, blah, blah. He said, Clarence, he said, my man that used to do my house clearances, he said, has packed up. And my furniture removals, he said, would you be interested in doing a bit of work? I said, of course I would, Philip. Yeah, love it. Never know what you're going to find, see? So, I starts working for him. When the scrapyard was running still, that's what I said to you about Donald. Donald used to run the scrapyard for me when I wasn't there. Anyway. Job after job was coming in. 2 or 3 jobs a week. Now, what was amazing about things back then. These old fogies would pass it on, and the people would live up country and they wouldn't even bother to come down to sort the affairs out. The stories I'm telling you now on my life are true. He rings me up. Clarence, he said, would you be... I said, spit it out, Phil. He said, well, no, it's a bit delicate. I said, just say what it is. All right, he said, there's a fellow that was found dead. He's been found dead in the chair for about 5 days. The place is absolutely smelling, he said. He said, would you be interested in going cleaning it out? I said, yeah, of course I will, Phil. Then he told me where it was. Over we goes. Opens the door, the smell. I said, well, I can't go in there, Phil. Not like this. I said, I'm going to have to go and get masks and these white paper boiler suits and all like that. I said, I can't go in there like that. That's fair enough. He said, well, the job is this. You go in, you clean the whole house out, take out everything. What's any good, you bring back to me. What ain't no good, you burn. He said, and then I want it fumigated and cleaned after. Well, that was a job for my wife. So she had a bit of booty now. So we goes in there, and I'm telling you, I'm urging. So I had a transit skip lorry then as well. That's the scrap lorries. The body would drop off on the floor, like a roll on, roll off, but a transit one. So we goes in, cleans it out. The place is humming. Cats inger everywhere, dogs inger, all sorts. Anyway, goes in, cleans it out. Does the job. Wouldn't a lot of stuff in there any good. So I said, Phil, come over and have a look. Make sure you're happy. My wife been in and cleaned it all out now. And it was bang on. Oh, lovely job, he said. He said, I forgot to ask you how much you're going to charge. I said, well, what do you normally pay, Phil? He said, for that total house clearance, he said, £1,500. He said, is that all right with you? I said, yeah, that's right with me, Philip. He said, plus it's 500 for cleaning it. It comes out the estate, he said. I said, oh, yeah. So that was one big job we had. With the mullered. So, another job comes in. A lady got straight me for eyes there, I'm not joking, 150 cats in this house. Right, goes over, old Philip wouldn't go in, see. He said, I can tell, Clarence, that in that house there's a lot of good stuff I can see through the windows. He said, but it's that bad. It's true. When you go in, the fleas are jumping on you. I said, Philip. He said, yeah. I said, right. He said, will you take a job on? I said, yeah, certainly we will. My boy was my boy. He wasn't very old at all. So we wouldn't let E-Gel in. I think he was in a cot even, and Jed said, no, he's not going in there with us. I think she's dropping back up to her mother. Anyway, goes in there now. I said, we can't cure this. The white boiler suits where the fleas was jumping all over us. That's the truth if I die here. Right, what are we going to do? I said, I'm going to get some smoke bombs. Went in. I bought £100 worth of smoke bombs. Put them all around the place. Upstairs, in the toilet, in the lounge, in the kitchen, everywhere. Started upstairs, lit them up, all the way down, right down to the kitchen. Shut the doors. Let it go all that day. Goes back the next day. There were still some alive, but it killed most of them. So we've done the same thing here. Now, unbeknown to Philip. Because I tell you the truth, on some of the kenners, even the central heating oil tanks was full up. Well, I had a central heating oil tank home. I used to put a pump in, drain them out. The relatives wouldn't even be bothered to come and sort the places out. Anyway, goes over to this place in St Agnes. He said, there it is, open it up. He said, I want that table, that sideboard, a few odd bits and pieces there. He said, the rest can go. I said, what about outside? He said, well, there was an old garden shed there. He said, clean that garden shed out. He said, if the garden shed in up to it, knock it down, take it away. His rectum will see that it always come there to the estate. So, and he had, once he sold the stuff up, he had the dealings with it, and he was in co with a solicitor. Right, this day, I die in this chair telling you the truth. This day was the day. He didn't notice it. I didn't. There was a load of ivy growing on the wall. Behind the ivy was a door. I said to Jed, I said, nobody's been in that cover for years. The old lock thing on the door was rusted right up. I said, get me the crowbar out the truck. Gets the crowbar out. Crowbars the fucking clasp thing off. Opens the door up. Now I'm thinking, make sure there's no covers in there, see? No long tails. She said, I'll go in there. I said, no. I said, it's all right. Anyway, opens the door up now. All the ivy starts to fall off. Gets in there. And there was a load of brass and copper coal scuttles lined up on the shelf. Down below, there was brass, I call them log baskets, bins, but wood bins. But they're all brass, with a brass top on, lift up the top. Door there, so we're right here. So look at all this. Nobody didn't, it was there. Right. I kick the box. This brass box. He never moved. I said, there's someone in there. Pulled the box out with a rake, I did. Put the rake in behind the box, pulled it out. Flipped the lid off with a rake. Wow. He was full. With all regalia, big sashes, solid silver, all lion stamped, the lot. I said, we've hit the jackpot. Couldn't rock her nexus to anybody else, see? Because we all had to go back that way. Right, pulled it out. It's all my Brian's life. The silver chains with the medals on that people used to wear, and silver belts with all the medals on. Silver candlesticks, all put in this fucking box. Look to the side, there's another yak. He was full up too. Comes home now. I gets hold of old Robbie Moose. I said, Robbie, I said, I got a lot of silver. He said, what you got? I said, no, I'm being fucking serious. I got a lot of silver. He said, I'll come down anyway. We had it on the pool table. Dolly, he said, where would you get that? I said, never mind with that. I said, it ain't yours. I said, no one wants the right money for it. I'll bring somebody back. Off he goes. Now, my knowledge and my know-how come from Mrs. Swindale. So I had all her books, copies of the book that she had, odd book or two she gave me. So all I had to do was get my little magnifying glass out, look at, most of it was stamped with a lion back then, or an anchor, look at what motives there were, I could identify it. Most of the silver was 1800s. But I had to be careful. If it was somebody's regalia and referred it back to that address, but no custody. So I had to be a bit careful. This mush looks at it with his glasses and this. He said, yeah, I'll buy it. I said, how much, mate? $2,000, he said. I said, no. No. I said, I'd rather put it in a pot, melt it there and sell it as a solid silver bar, mate. No, I said, I don't stand up for that. We said, how much do you want then? I said, $5,000. Oh, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I said, well, we've got to be somewhere in the middle then. Anyway, if and an to and fro and to and fro. He come up. He said, I'll give you £3,500 for it. I was shaking my head again. I said, no. I said, pick it up, Jed. I said, put it away. He said, well, what? I said, you know what I want. I ended up selling it to him for £3,750. And that was the biggest find we had. I think I give Rob him was 2.5. I said, here's a drink for you, Rob. Thank you very much, he said. But that's a very true story. Yeah. the shed was there. But he was all growed in an ivy. Now, the point about all these stories is the families would never be bothered. They couldn't be bothered to get off their fucking asses and come down and sort their families' affairs out. There's a lot more stories on this line that I'll come to you and tell you about my antique days. But it's gone on now for 38 minutes. I think that's a bit too long. So it's bye-bye from the Romany Rye. And tomorrow night I will have my assistant put these pictures up. Thank you very much. God bless.